Hello, everyone. I am super excited today. I want to welcome you to yet another episode. I am super excited for those of you who reached out to me, provided some feedback on how we can improve, and those of you who were grateful for the learnings and the information and the content that was provided. I am extremely happy and thankful that you were able to take some time out to send those to me. On today's segment, we're going to talk about decisions and those decisions that we make on a daily basis as a leader, as an individual, as a growing person. And I wanted to talk about decisions in this one because the last time we spoke about priorities, and now that we know how to fit our priorities into put those into perspective, I wanted to share with you some information on decision making. And decision making doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to make a decision. And what I have seen is sometimes you feel a little bit clustered with all of the things that are happening. There's so many things that you have to decide on. And one of the term I've heard used for this is called decision fatigue. People make so many decisions. Some people don't make decisions in the afternoon because they're not at their optimum performance level mentally. So some people make those decisions early in the morning. But as a leader or as an individual, you will be required to make a decision every single day about simple things. You'll be required to make a decision about um, starting from the time you wake up. What do you do from that time on? First of all, the time you wake up, that's a decision that you have to make. For those of you who have alarms, you'll have to decide, am I going to obey that alarm or am I going to hit snooze on that alarm? And you set the tone for the day and how you will move through the day. So that's a decision itself. Another decision, very simple one. What am I going to eat today? That's a very simple decision. And that decision can cost you sometimes because whatever you put into your body, that obviously has an effect on, your health, your wellness, those sort of things. So on a larger scale though, decisions, those simple decisions are extremely important, and how you decide to show up every day, how you decide to take care of yourself every day. Those are all decisions that you make. What you feed your mind, how you show up, what you will learn, if you will learn, those are all decisions that you will make during the course of your day. But on the larger scale of decision making, within your roles or your respective professional functions, you will be required to sometimes give decisions to those persons that are below you. They require a decision. And it is extremely urgent that you provide a decision, regardless of what the decision is. Most times, people will not agree with your decision. Sometimes they will think it's a bad one, but it's important that you make a decision nonetheless. So it doesn't have to be a perfect decision, but you just need to make one, right? I've seen a couple of leaders do this. Check back with me tomorrow, check back with me next week. I'll tell you by the end of the day. And they almost never follow through on those promises that they give. So you want to make sure that if you are, as a leader, giving your word to your team to say, check with me next week, check with me tomorrow. And most times, if you can't make a decision, leaders, what your subordinates don't understand, or your employees sometimes don't understand, is that you really need to think about it. You need to sleep on it. You need to give it some thought. There's a process that you have to go through. And that's important for some decisions. But there are times when some things will be right in front of you and you have to decide right now, what am I going to do now? And that's critical because you have to know how to think on your feet as well. And there are simple ways that you can do that process or go through that process to kind of get to an outcome. And sometimes you make a bad decision and your team feels the repercussions of that decision, but you have to make sure that you continue to decide nonetheless. And when you make a decision, then you'll only be able to find out, okay, was this the right thing or was this the wrong thing? And then you kind of course correct it and get back on track. But there will never be a situation where the decision will be so perfect, it will turn out so well. But sometimes they just need clarity and direction on where I have to go, what they have to do, right? Some persons have a very difficult time just making up their minds But you have to first make sure that you are clear on where you are going and what you are doing. Whether you are leading a company, you have to know what is the outcome? What do I intend to do? What are my intentions? Who am I, who am I targeting? What is my client, my target audience? What are they looking for? How am I hoping to serve them? But on an organizational perspective, you want to also ensure that when you show up daily, how am I expected to perform? What is expected from me, from my leader? How do I, show up? So you have to ensure that you are clear on that first. And most times that's really fuzzy. It's not a lot of clarity. If you do a survey, look around you and ask three people, hey, what is the mission or what are we on? What are we supposed to be doing in this organization? What's the main goal or the function? People will kind of look for words or search for words. And if you ask five of them, they'll all have five different answers. That's because leadership has not made clear to them what the vision is or where we're going as a company. Right. But getting back to the topic of our decisions, ensure that whenever those decisions are made or we are making a decision, that there's, you minimize the level of procrastination that takes place in that segment. Ask yourself, is this urgent? Do I have to decide right now? If you have to decide right now, then you weigh the pros and cons. What is the worst thing that can happen from this decision? All right. And then on the flip side, what is the best outcome that I can have? Right. And based on those two things, most times when you ask, what is the worst thing that could possibly happen from this decision I'm about to make? That kind of answers the question itself. Then how do I go about acting? Do I do it? Do I not? But it's important to make a decision nonetheless, right? Regardless of that fear or that anxiety you may feel. Sometimes you may be afraid that if you make the wrong decision, those cost you financially. Sometimes they cost your reputation, depending on the type of industry or business that you're in. Sometimes you get yourself really in a predicament for making a bad decision, but it's important to stop and do an analysis prior to that particular decision making in order to understand what specifically the outcome, will be. What's the worst possible outcome? All right. So I'm going to leave you with that for today. And I want to thank you again for those of you who continue to watch. Please stay tuned. We intend to bring you some interesting content as we progress. And I thank you for your feedback and your time. Have a great day. See you at the next one.